I've just roughed this one out. I was going to do it for myself. It's the size of the board is 20 inches by 24 inches. So you won't go down in metric. It's quite a large board. It's about as large as I ever want to paint these days. It's just a woodland scene. I sold two similar to this a couple of weeks ago at Denby's, that big art exhibition I had with friends. And I stupidly didn't take photographs of them, so I haven't got a record of where they are. So I'm going to do another one. I'll make it up as I go along. I want some silver birches, probably framing the centre, a bit of mystery coming on here. A mystery sort of background, mystery and misty, like a bit of, hopefully a bit of fog. And a path into the wilderness here. So just to remind me of the path, I'll just put in just something to remind us that we've got. As I say, I was going to do it for myself, but I thought, why should I be so selfish? I'll share it, but I won't be able to do this in one go. It's going to be too difficult. So we'll see how we go, whether I upload it. If it goes well, then we'll see. But what I've done, I've put a very dark foreground. I've roughed this hardboard up, and I've sealed it with a coat of acrylic varnish, matte varnish, and that's all I've done really. Right. Well, we'll start with a sky. I'm using this KY jelly as a retarder so I can blend. I need to use some alizarin crimson. Can't go too far without alizarin. It's a very useful colour. They're all useful colours, aren't they? It's a silly thing to say. Just dub a bit out there. So the palette, raw sienna, yellow ochre, only because I've got the two colours, so I might as well use them. I've got them in the same part of the palette. I'm using a Stay Wet palette, by the way, the Masterson, marketed by Chroma Colour. Lemon yellow, lovely lemon yellow, white of course, cadmium red, light red, alizarin crimson, ultramarine, burnt sienna and black. Right, so let's start with a nice sort of nondescript sky, because there's not going to be any detail in this sky, so it's just going to be a colour. So it's going to be very light, a load of jelly with it. So let's just start roughing in. I'll put the tree shapes in, but they're going to be random anyway. So, but I want this blended. I don't want any board to show, and I want it all nice and gentle, as if it was misty. And there'll be a bank of trees, but they'll be very faintly shown, just as a backdrop. So just whack it on. Sorry if those watercolour purists are missing the demos, but solid media like this, oils, they do tend to fetch more money if you ever sell them. And I have sold many paintings in my years of painting. And you'll always find people that can do it better than you, whatever you do. So it's basically a slightly tinted with one of the yellows, the yellow ochre, raw sienna. You also use some of the varnish mixed in with this. So keep it all moving. Okay, now let's start putting in some background, but light. We'll strengthen that with a bit of blue. So this is looking into the depth of the wood. Just getting some paint on the board. And as we come down to this bit, we can slightly darken, and that'll be our backdrop for our wood. Put the usual stuff in, a few bluebells and poppies. I mean, they always look nice with poppies. It's all very soft and blended. Right, I'll get some white in the middle of this. It's not pure white, it's just gently mixed with, well gently, it's just mixed with this dark, slightly darker bluey mauvey mix of alizarin crimson, ultramarine. You can use cobalt if you wish. I'm an ultramarine man. A good brush for roughing it would be a good inch household brush, but a good quality one. You don't want to go too cheap on some of the blocking brushes because the bristles will split or move all over the place. But they're good for other things, but not for what we're doing here. Right, I need to put some more paint out on my palette. I need some more white. I buy this from Class Olsen. I haven't bought any for several years, or 2 or 3 years anyway. They might not even exist. But they did have a good range of student type of acrylics, which I used. Okay, let's go back to the sky. I don't want any of the background board to show in this. I want that completely flat and blended, loads of colour, or loads of paint anyway. If you work too hard at it, it'll take off the paint that's underneath that hasn't quite dried. I have done quite a few of this type of painting. A bit more blue in this area. I'm using a bit of cadmium red now in the mix, if that make any difference. The idea of putting the dark foreground in is to give me something to put my lights against, to get a nice contrast early on. That's the only reason I've done it. Let that shine through. This is still too much of the background showing through. I'll was rather hoping today that I was going to receive my pot of texture paste, which I could mix in with the paint to make them a bit thicker. Then we've got the darker side here again. I'd like to get this to a degree of finish before I sign off and call that part one, but we'll see. Right, go back in that sky. I'm going to stand up a little while, give myself a bit of a break, and I usually paint sitting down. I've mixed a little bit of lemon yellow in with the sky here. But it's all white at the moment. A little bit of lemon yellow, a bit of that red. A bit of the dollop. Just gently feather it. Oh, we'll come in there. It's happening. I'll use a bit of varnish. Just helps it flow, but it will speed up as well, the drying, which I do want now. I've more or less covered up what's underneath, but it's only a guide. I know it seems a waste of time putting it in and painting it out, but I can see the design through here, and I can remember it. Right, now we'll go mix in a bit of blue with that. Put this background in. Right, you can see that what I'm trying to do now is trying to just soften the tops of this tree canopy in the depth of the wood. I have to put some more sky colour on. I want it just a little bit darker down below then now. And here. Always takes a bit of time, this. Well, I'm going to be covering all of this with trees and stuff. Right, and with a bit of dark, a darker version of that colour, and we'll this will be the misty sort of foliage in the distance there. Just drag it down into the rest of the foreground there. Just okay. Now I'll clean off that colour from my palette, so I want to do that sky bit. That's still wet. Right, I'll quickly put in some stipply sort of colours here. Just whatever I put on here, it's going to change. Of course, there, looking into the depth of the wood, bit of yellow in there, green, going greens, dark greens. Just cover it up and keep working. As I do this, it'll put a surface on the board, which will eventually allow me to drag colour over it. But at the moment I can't do that. And just keep working away at it until you get some nice shapes that you find pleasing. You've got some catching the light at the back there. Remember, I'm only roughing in. I'm not doing a finished painting at this stage. I'm just trying to do this, get some advance in there. Bit of sienna, mix in with there. Just warm colours. Add a bit of light red to the mix. Just nice warm colours in foreground. So a nice dark green. We'll just put in some, this is very dark, I need some nice yellow. Black and lemon yellow for the dark greens here. I'm using this brush with the long hairs. It's a cheap Chinese bristle brush, and it does nice things. When I was doing oil, a lot of oil paintings in Venice, I used a lot of fast drying oil, and I was stippled, and you could almost work over it quickly. By the time you got to the bottom of something, a tree for example, you could go back and keep stippling the colour over what was underneath, and eventually it all merged, and you could subtly show clumps of light leaves against dark leaves. It was about building up a surface. The buildings build up a nice surface that would take colour when you drag the brush over it, all high spots. You have to look out for them. Light red and black, because I want nice dark and warm darks in this. There we are. I love black. But these are warm, sort of, I've warmed it up by mixing some light red with it, and then as I put the darks back, I can paint over again. Let's just get some dark where the trees are going to go. I can put a lot of lights over this. So this is all rough woody ground. And nice dark in this corner as well. I did that. If you've watched it, nobody's left any comments on it. I don't blame them. I got stuck with the Oast House, the Kent Oast House. It probably wasn't well enough thought out, but as a demo I don't have a lot of thinking time, but it could have been better. But they don't all work out as you want sometimes, but I can always work out. I have worked on it since to resolve certain issues with it, like the colours of the roofs. Right, well that's coming. Grasses. Right, let's do a bit of work on the path. So we'll have some sort of skyish colour. And put sienna in there. This is where I want to drag colour over. Just a little bit of alizarin crimson in this. Just catching the light there. Now it's going to disappear somewhere there. So I want a nice flash of white there. And then I can drag in foliage like grasses all the way into that, so it all merges and just leaves a central, just a single track path. Right, how's the roof going here? No, it's still a bit damp. I'll just work on this bit here, and then I can superimpose some nice misty foliage over it. Not foliage, grasses, and that's a bit spiky, this brush, it's losing its edge. Oh, I won't use that one, I'll use that one. But there's going to be a lot of trees over this in the distance. Right, let's put in some light siennas. And yep, that's coming on. Right, now nice bit of a bluey mix, but stronger. I try and keep the light red out of this background mix. It'll make it go too grey, and that's what I don't want. This is where I've got to bring the whites back in. Right, okay. Clean up my brush. I reckon on maybe 2 to 3 15-minute sessions on the 15-minute sessions on it. It's not a lot of time to paint a masterpiece, is it? I'll just get some of the misty colours back in there now. Just the whites, just going back into the distance. Remember, whatever you put on, you can change. Oh, this is where we want the light. Just scumbling over that, just to can take like the mist into the lower bit of the wood on that slight look, and then on the top. Slight bit of alizarin in it. This is a cool red. Put some back over there on the left. Oh, go away. Don't know what's there. Oh, right, I want to clean my palette a little bit and just go back over that sky. So I use a painting knife just to scrape off all that paint. Now I've used this membrane on the Stay Wet palette for a couple of weeks now, I think. And it's still usable, it hasn't given up the ghost. Now, I painting knife here somewhere. I work in an absolute mess, as you know. And I had a painting knife here a little while ago. Do you think? Oh, I know really. I used it to cut through this lump of sandpaper. Right, let's just clear that off. Very messy business painting. And before I call it a day on this one, I want to do just a little bit more in that foreground, and then that'll give us the base for the rest of the painting. That'll be a good start. Right. Okay. So alizarin crimson, a little bit of lemon yellow. And a bit of the chocolate. I wanted to soften the top of this canopy. Now I'm going to put lots of trees and stuff in this. That's going to take a bit of time when I get round to it. It might be that it's going to be a job too far. I don't do time lapse or anything like that, don't know how. I've been asked not to do it by one or two of you. You want to see all the secrets. Now I've got a hole in it, but I think my thumb went there. Right, I might have to leave that till another day or tomorrow. Right, well, just plug the gap there. Oops. Oh no, put in my yellow. Right, we're just taking some lighter misty paint in that distance there. This is in the sort of like the floor of that hillock there. Right, okay. Now that's dry now, believe it or not. There's a lot of thick paint went on that. Right, let's just put in some. So you use a brush like this, you don't want to do every individual blade of grass. You have to find shorthand ways to do things. I mean, you can make rods for your own back, but I try to find easier ways of doing all this. I said I'd take it over there. On that hill there, show the top of the. I was trying to show the shape of the ground going up this hill. It's not really a hill; it's just a lump in the ground. See, it's just starting to allow me to drag over that, and there's a bit of red in there, but nice and light. Just breaking up all those clumps and just trying to make it look random rather than mechanical. Right, now some greens, some really dark greens, a load of yellow, bit of black. Bit of red in there. Now we've got lots of shadows in all this grass because it's all rough ground. So you've got to put your darks back. This is a very dark green now. Just dragging. Nice in the depth in the corners, the bottom of the picture, so stop the eye from falling off the bottom. This is where I hold the brush like this. And when I put the lights back, it will register, or hopefully. Oops. This is all just building up a texture, a surface, so that I can drag paint over. Oops. That's a bit of black going in there, just using it up on the palette. Okay, that's as far as I want to go with that today. Thanks for watching. I'll just take you down into the foreground of this. Right, okay. Hi. Right, okay, let's come down. So this is where we are now. That's part of the foreground, just roughed in. And the sky, I hope you can see that. I'll put it on automatic focus so it'll focus on where, like the middle of what I'm showing. So just the background coming on. By the time I start putting some trees in, maybe later or today or tomorrow, we will have a good base to start with. I'm quite encouraged now about that. Let's bring it straight. There we are. So that's it for today. Bye bye.